Major support for these programs is provided by Bank of America Merrill Lynch and Perfect Building Maintenance, New York Community Bank, Kilroy Architectural Windows, New York's Window Company, Greenberg Traurig, LLP, M&T Bank, Chase Commercial Term Lending. Additional support is provided by Briarwood Organization, Bruce Mosler, Capital One Bank, Cassidy Turley, C.B. Richard Ellis, Chelsea Lighting, Cushman and Wakefield, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Douglaston Development, DDG Partners, Hal Fettner, Durst Fettner Residential, Friedman LLP, Accountants and Advisors, Gemini Real Estate Advisors, LLC, Genova Burns and Giantomasi, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, James Orphanides, Centurion Holdings, Corman Communities, Madison Realty Capital, Margolin Weiner and Evans, LLP, Certified Public Accountants and Business Advisors, Massey Knackle Realty Services, Meridian Capital Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Sterling and Sterling, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, the Wickoff Group, Urban American, and Ackman Ziff Real Estate, Ariel Property Advisors, Eastern Consolidated, Essex Capital Partners, Goldman Properties, Moynihan Group, Muss Development, RAL Development Services, the Spandrel Group, LLC, Rosewood Realty Group, Terra CRG, Triangle Equities.
So they call it the Garden State. It's right over the river. It's a place that there are dynamic things happening. So today I've brought four leading individuals who really know what's happening in the state of New Jersey to provide their insight to my audience and to me on the market. My guest today includes Frank Giantomasi, Senior Partner at Genova, Burns, Giantomasi, and Webster. Gus Milano, Managing Director at Harts Mountain Industry. Jack Morris, who is the President and CEO of Edgewood Properties. And last but not least, Kevin Cummings, who is the President and CEO of Investors Bank. So banker, or my executive producer for bringing two people, you know, him I knew, so we brought him in. So you get credit for him anyway. Okay. My executive producer. How do you look at the market? I did a show a couple weeks ago, and I said, happy days are here again for some people. I'm not that optimistic, but things are getting better. The market goes up, the stock market. How do you in the banking world look at it today?
You got to think of where we came from. 2007, 2008, we were in pretty bad trouble. 2009 was a terrible year. And that's, as we get that in the rearview mirror, things are looking better. We've been fortunate. We had a lot of capital. So in the last 4 years, we've doubled our loan portfolio from $4 billion to almost, more than doubled, almost $9 billion. What we're seeing now, from the lender's perspective, is that there's more competition for loans. I think there's more credit available, and at least on certain asset classes like multifamily, it's getting very, very competitive.
So I'm going to ask two people, who handle their own business, who are borrowers. How do you see the availability of capital from banks, and how do you see it?
I'll let Gus go first.
Well, there's plenty of capital around for the right product and the right sponsors. And as
I think you made that comment, the right product and the right sponsors.
Correct, and I think they're both critical components. And as Kevin will tell you, on the multifamily side, for the larger projects with the established sponsors, there's plenty of capital available on the construction loan side and the permanent debt side. But as you move into different asset classes, if you go into multi-tenant suburban office buildings, there's effectively no capital available. You need a considerable amount of equity to undertake those type of projects.
You bring up an interesting point, and I want your opinion also on this. I had a lender today who was saying that since the banks, for these very large deals, really don't want to do more than a $50 million slug, if they even want to do that much, are you seeing a lot of banks syndicating the loans for these higher construction loans for multifamily?
Yeah, I think the syndication starts, I mean, Kevin will tell you, but I think $50 million and above is where you see the syndication. They like to lay a piece off, even if they can take it and feel comfortable with it. We're seeing, participations in the construction.
Have you seen the insurance companies come in? Because I do know that I believe Northwest Mutual's involved with a construction loan in Brooklyn in the Williamsburg section. Have you seen the insurance companies yet?
I haven't personally seen the insurance companies do the construction and permanent loan, but they are doing that. Northwestern Mutual is very active on the permanent side. We recently completed a significant transaction with Northwestern Mutual on a multifamily loan, but they're a very active lender.
And you?
I agree with Gus. I think it depends what market you're in, and if you have a track record and you're a competent developer that made it through the tough times, you can borrow money today. But it has to be in a certain niche market. Apartments today are the hot thing. But what the banks are looking to see is a lot of equity, and I think that's limiting the amount of development that you're going to see in the state, especially in markets. For instance, most of the funds, they want to be in the Hobokens or they want to be in the Morris towns. They have select areas where developers like myself, we don't deal with funds or equity partners, and we'll go into places like I would call it suburban areas.
The tertiary neighborhoods.
That's right.
You would say.
The tertiary areas. It makes it difficult for other developers if you don't have the capital to be able to go in today and start projects. That's the real problem as I see it.
My question is, I know Kevin and investors for many years, and they have stayed in the market, and as he said, they went from $4 billion to $9 billion. What about the other New Jersey smaller banks, the savings banks or the small commercial banks? Are they in the market?
The way I see it, most of the smaller banks are just picking up their pieces and trying to get themselves back in order and deal with the regulators. I think they got hurt. They had a lot of smaller loans, and some of them had larger loans that they got hurt. Kevin happens to be in a really unique situation, and he's in, I think, a opportune time to be able to lend money. And I think a lot of the other banks are envious. They'd like to be able to be where Kevin is and be able to lend money today, but they can't because the regulators have really their hands around their neck.
Counselor.
Yes.
You're the counselor to banks. You're the counselor to these people. How do you see the market for your banking clients and for your developer clients with regard to securing capital? How much equity is needed and so on?
Well,
you wear both hats.
I do, and our bank work has increased, and I would say it's increased dramatically. From 07 to 11, we saw a slow increase. We're getting reservations for work from banks saying we've got an allocation of commitments that are going to come out in the first quarter, in the second quarter, and that could be an increase of as much as 200 to 300%, depending on the bank. I would agree with Jack's comments about the smaller banks. They've got less capital, they've got less opportunity, and they have less asks because the smaller developers, those that got wiped out, got wiped out. Those that survived are still trying to hold on and rebuild, retool, generate their own personal capital. What we're really talking about here, we're talking about the big guys. We're talking about the Harts Mountains, we're talking about the Mark Bursons, we're talking about the Tuckers, we're talking about the Pazickis. They're positioned well. They run sound businesses, they have run sound businesses. They've seized the opportunity of probably the lowest acquisition price.
What Jack said before, you're talking about people who are in major markets, not tertiary markets. Tertiary markets or the smaller suburban markets are harder.
it's a very difficult road, I think, right now, because I also think when we talk about New Jersey, there's a refocus on the urban centers. We all know the incentives that are out there. We talked before about the Bloomberg criticisms of Christie and what's happening, but the transit village concept is alive and well. Hoboken proved it. Jersey City's alive, and Harrison, which I love to talk about, is exploding.
But there has to be more than just a handful of transit village areas that you can develop today, and that's the problem. The tertiary areas, as you just described.
You know, it's interesting. I sat down a couple of months ago. Amalgamated Bank had something called the Ultra Fund. And basically, it was a fund geared that if it was union labor, union job, and all the rest, and they went into Rawway. And they took, a mixed-use location in Rawway, which was probably near the prison. Everything was wrong about the property. And needless to say, it's in foreclosure. But, they try to make a village, not an urban village where you're talking. It wasn't far from the train. And this is happening a little bit in certain parts of Long Island, but the planning boards kill them in Long Island. But the urban village, I mean, you try to do that, I think, in Edison also, in this. That's what you need, because it's the live-work combination.
Yeah, but you can't just say that that area wouldn't make it, but for the fact that you don't know the developer's position, and they may have been undercapitalized. I don't know.
On that deal, there's no question it was an
situation.
undercapitalized situation. But if you look at what Roseland, who's your partner in many deals today, did in Morristown recently, where the department store was,
Yep.
and the changes.
Epstein's.
You got 563 municipalities
Yep.
in New Jersey. There's a wide variety of different levels of rentals, and everybody wants to be up here with the high-end rentals, but still people need to live at the lower end, and
The working people.
that's right, the working people need a place to live.
The train stops are important. We've done nice deals in Rahway, Carteret, Perth Amboy, and East Orange, because they have the train, and that's the attraction, getting into the city, getting into Newark, wherever they're working. And a lot of it has to do with the municipal leadership. Why does one town do well and develop and improve? It might be in the same county,
That's a great
and
point.
one doesn't. I always said that about Jersey City for years. I grew up in Jersey City, and I watched Hoboken take off. Well, what took Jersey City so long? I mean, now they got their act together, and they've done things in the last 20 years.
Now, didn't they? They did a show a couple years ago on Jersey City, and didn't they have a rezoning recently in Jersey City?
I'm not
Or
familiar.
Union Square, weren't they trying to
Was it
rezone?
Journal Square?
It was the Mozzarella. That's what did it in
That's it,
Hoboken.
yeah.
Right. No, was it?
Was it
was
Journal
supposed to-
Square?
It was supposed
Well,
to be a
big
rezoning.
things are going on
Right.
in Journal Square right now.
So it's
Certainly.
now, it's finally happening.
Yeah.
But I think, we were talking about your headquarters. You have 5 offices in New York also. You're in Manhattan. Let's talk a little bit about Newark. I mean, we've done a show earlier this year of what's happening. The Prue Center has done well. They just built they broke ground for the Teachers Village over there.
Yes,
You
they
have
did.
the Dinosaur Barbecue over there. You have 2 new hotels. I mean, I think that the city can absorb the two hotels. Like in Harlem, they wanted 5, 1 opened. That's the amount that you can work. What do you see happening in the Newark and the East Orange and the Montclair sections of New Jersey?
Well, Panasonic, as we all know, the steel arrives next week, and erection will happen immediately. That's going to be a big confidence builder, because it's already out of the ground. They're building on an existing platform, so the first bit of construction will be erection, which is going to be exciting. The cranes arrive. The Marriott Hotel, adjacent to the Devil's Arena, it's up. It'll be open in September. That gives people the confidence that Newark can accomplish a development. You've got to talk about the announcement of the Prudential headquarters. So you've got real American companies coming to Newark with new real jobs. Will the residences follow? Will the retail follow the rooftops? Those are the questions that you're asking.
I mean, if you look at visionaries, you take Hart's Mountain, when they went to the Secaucus Meadowland, okay, this was, I remember, because I'm just a couple years older than Kevin, there was nothing. You had the warehouses, okay, and that's before the the outlet stores that you built over there, and then you built the residential. So you made in an area that had nothing, truly something of a mixed-use community. And that's and it's happening now more in Edgewater and Pizzici with SJP in Fort Lee. It may happen also. I mean, that's been vacant for 40 years over there in the situation.
Well, Fort Lee, he just got site plan approval, and I think you'll see that development take off. And it's been a
There is
30-year
no question it's going
hole.
to happen. How do you look at a place like an Edgewater or Fort Lee?
Edgewater, Fort Lee, they can't miss. They're a great location. It's all location. Easy commute to the city. You're minutes from the George Washington.
Look at you with Weehawken.
Yeah.
Weehawken's a very strong residential market, and that's just an extension of West New York and North Bergen going north and up into Edgewater.
Yeah.
They're very strong markets, and you really have a different demographic in Weehawken than you have in Hoboken and Jersey City. So
how do you look? Let's get. It's more what Jack was saying. How do we look at the suburban office? I mean, I see sometimes these buildings selling at such low prices, and it's like Westchester. If I did a show in Westchester, the rents in Westchester haven't increased in 30 years.
when you look at the New Jersey office market, it's staggering what's happening. You're having record sales on the low side and the high side in the same year. We sold 99 and 70 Hudson for a record price, and the Newport Tower sold. 10 Exchange sold, all for near $400 a square foot. And you have suburban office properties that aren't in transit.
They're selling for $65.
They're selling for $40, $50, or $60 a square foot, maybe. So, and you're finding some prices at record lows and record highs in the same year. So the core markets, downtown Jersey City is just very, very strong. The investors are coming in, and I also think that with the transit tax credit program, that there are 11 tenants in New York, 1 million square feet or more in the market. We all know who they are. And the price differential, the delta between New York rents and New Jersey rents, when you take into consideration the transit tax credit program, the delta is staggering. It's probably 1/3 the cost. You would save $50 a square foot in 1 million square feet by moving to Jersey City. And I think that you have lease expirations coming up. Everybody's kind of on pause, but their leases do expire. They need to make a decision. You're a fiduciary to a company. You can save your company $50 million a year. I really think you're going to get a tenant or two this year signing on to Jersey City to build a 1 million square feet.
Hey, look, Pearson's moving to Hoboken, and they're keeping part of it on Hudson Square, and then they port to Hoboken. How do we, Manhattan, the 5 boroughs are under-retailed. I wouldn't say that about New Jersey. I think you have, in certain markets, a lot of good retail, and then certain markets, you can write down that you're going to. How do you look at the retail market as a banker today in New Jersey?
I think it gets back to sponsorship, who the operators are. There are still, like in my town in Summit, there's still a lot of empty stores and mom and pop retail. It's been a struggle for retailers. But it's pretty resilient too, on the other hand. So the people that are surviving, but I wouldn't say it's booming.
I was going to say, Michael, real quick. I mean, New Jersey's not New York because New Jersey has these strategically placed mega malls that suck the retail in, and people go to the malls for a day, not for just a shopping experience. They go there, they eat, they walk. The malls now open up so that heart patients can get their walk in the morning and walk 2 miles if it's inclement weather. Malls have a whole different vibe in New Jersey than in New York. And New York really isn't a mall.
No, New York
It's not a mall situation.
Right. But if you go to Queens, and you do have certain locations, in Rego Park, where the malls do well. And in Nassau County, in Westbury, Equity One is building a brand new 400,000 square foot shopping center on the former Avis location, and they've leased 95% of the location. I mean, I think retail, it depends on the market over there. I think, what Jack builds, in certain markets to put a Costco or a Wegman or somebody like that, it's just, if they open up, they'll do well. I mean, it's just getting the approval.
Thank you. I don't think New Jersey is over-retailed. It's so difficult to get approvals in New Jersey that by the time you get the approvals and you build it. At the Costco you talk about in Marlboro we built, I think it took 7 or 8 years to get the approvals to build it. So, and we were the second developer. The first developer couldn't hang in there, and so we were able to come in there. It was an opportunity for us. You know, I always say, in bad times there's opportunities, and so we were able to seize the opportunity. But there are still retailers that want to be in New Jersey. Walmart is one retailer that as many stores as I can get approved for them in the right locations, they'll do. There are other retailers such as Costco, and you know, I know even Wegmans. We talk about Wegmans. You know, Wegmans would like to expand too. The problem is trying to get an approval for them up in North Jersey. There's probably 2 or 3 locations that Wegmans would just they'd blow the doors off.
Yeah, I did a show with retailers, and we were talking about outlet centers. And I had one very specialized retail person talking that they believe that every good major retailer should have, for every 6 stores that they have, they should have 1 outlet center. Where do you, there are certain outlet centers. I mean, you were the kings of outlet centers originally in Secaucus. Do you see the outlet center concept opening up again in New Jersey?
Well, I don't know. Listen, if you look at the outlet centers, if you look at Tanger stock in the last 10 years, it's been one of the best performing stocks, and they're an outlet center. But I think that outlet center expansion in New Jersey will be slow at this point. I just don't see a lot of retail development going forward. And there are other dynamics just aside from the New Jersey market. You're looking at, you know, the internet is huge. And you know, 1990 we had 14 square feet per capita of retail space. Now we have 22 or 23. I don't know the exact number, but it's in that order of magnitude. And you're seeing some of the large retail boxes scaling back. And we read about Best Buy scaling back. We read about Walmart coming up with 40,000 square foot concepts. So,
but that's a food concept.
Well, yeah, but there's a contraction in the size of these boxes. They're rethinking the big size boxes. I think they're going to get a little bit smaller, a little bit more efficient. So, you know, retail's interesting. I think there's some good markets, and I think there's some very, very strong spots, and there's some weak spots in it.
Something that I've seen happen quite a bit in New Jersey is this phenomenon of data centers.
Well, listen, we have about a dozen data centers, and that's just we're just fortuitous in being proximate to New York City. And most of the data centers that we have are financial service dependent, and there's a latency issue. Even though the speed of light's 186,000 miles per second, they can't be in Philadelphia or they can't be in Pennsylvania. They need to be near New York City.
But here's an interesting situation. Someone came to me to finance one of these centers recently, and I said to them, what happens if you don't build it? Then I have a warehouse, and what's my use for my specialized data center? And the person was in contract to buy, and you'll know the site, the Hoffman LaRoche site on 46 in Totowa. And as a warehouse, it doesn't make money because you maybe get $4 to $5 a foot, and the purchase price was $16.5 million. So, you know, it really is worth $12 million.
Yeah.
But if somebody has that dream that the data center will do well, you're a different case. But this is somebody going in. How do you look at a data center? That's not from a Hartz Mountain or somebody who's...
Well, actually, you know, we have one.
He's financed one of our...
Exactly.
No, but, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How do you look at someone who says, I want to build a data center, who doesn't have the expertise? They like the thought that it's a...
Yeah, I think building it on spec or building it without a tenant, it's a non-starter.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Michael, the way I look at data centers is you need to supply a location with the right zoning, with the right power, with the right telecommunications and the water. That's all you need to do. And the company that comes in, leases your property or develops a property will go on from there. So you need to, I mean, we've historically have only made a very marginal investment in the data center space. It's been, you get the right company that needs to be there, and if you can satisfy the 5 criteria, you're good to go.
I'm going to ask Frank his opinion, then I'm going to make a comment that I consider somebody by the name of Bill McCahill, the legendary banker, who's been around. And
know him well.
Yeah, and Billy said, when I discussed this just before he retired and he was on my show, he says, I remember when there were mainframe computers. They took up all the space. And you know what? Then that mainframe went to a small computer. There are clouds. They're cloud computing. You know, so people, it's the same way law firms who used to be taking space, they don't have computer rooms. So the world is there, you know, changes.
Well, I agree with Gus in terms of, I think the first prerequisite for the data center is location, location, location. Because if you're not on that fiber optic line, you can build all the data centers you want. The time to get the data from the center to the line into New York or into Jersey City, wherever the backroom operation is critical. All the data centers that we've been involved with are complete packages. It's an end user, it's a client, and it's looking for a location. And that's what they come to me and say, what do you have in this corridor? And they know the corridors. The developers and users know the corridors. So I don't think it's a spec opportunity. I don't think you build it and they will come. I agree with Kevin on that. We did see the one fortuitous one, and that was the old Bamberger's Macy's building in New York. And in Newark, when the Jamel brothers came out of Manhattan and they bought it for retail, all of a sudden somebody said it's on the line. It became a data center, and the retail facility never materialized. But they're probably very happy that they have the data facility.
You know, with like 2 minutes left, here's the question. You know, Jack said, you know, he doesn't deal with the fund guys. When private equity, and you know, look who bought your property, and you know, a major company, H&H, you know, the REIT came over there. They went into Jersey last year. If somebody wanted to say, I want to invest in New Jersey because I'm a novice, I don't know that market, you know, I'm from a fund or something where else, where would you say the best opportunities are in the state of New Jersey? Jack?
I think what Kevin said, if you have transit available to you, there's areas such as, you know, Matawan, Aberdeen, the Monmouth counties, Middlesex County is still very hot. We opened a job that's less than a mile from a train station 2 weekends ago, and we took 65 deals. I think it's unprecedented that you've seen that in New Jersey in the last 4 or 5 years. So I credit it to being in the transit areas. New Brunswick, you see a lot of areas.
But light rail also helps, which is what helped in Hoboken,
Jersey City.
and Jersey City. So I think that crystal ball. What's the best market today in New Jersey? Frank,
Newark.
Kevin,
The transit centers.
Jack.
Transit centers.
Transit centers, and I think Jersey City is probably the best market today.
So I think, you know, in a couple of months when I invite all of you back and we talk about it so we can get a little better idea of the for sale market and what's going on, let's hope that this positive optimism continues and the market is there. There's banking money out there. I know you'll be in the business and we can continue. I'd like to thank Frank, Gus, Jack, and Kevin. See you next week.